Good morning, the time has arrived. The title for today is A Worldwide Conspiracy Against Truth and Basic Human Values. JFK, in one of his most famous speeches, said, "For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy." John Perkins is a former respected member of the international banking community. In his book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, he describes how, as a highly paid professional, he helped the U.S. cheat poor countries around the globe out of trillions of dollars by lending them more money than they could possibly repay, and then take over their economies. In this video, I want to talk about basic human values, specifically truth. Can we know the truth? Some, those who believe there is no objective right or wrong, good or evil, would say that we cannot know what truth is. I am not among those who hold this viewpoint. In fact, holding that viewpoint can be the foundation for justification of all sorts of unethical and criminal behavior. To me, this is obvious if we simply observe the world where we live. I include the links to JFK's speech and also to Democracy Now!'s interview with John Perkins about his book, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Let me back up a little bit. Yesterday I was in a glorious place. I mean, all day long. I mean, the stage was set from the earliest meditation when I woke up, one of gratitude. And all day long I was in this state of just being grateful for everything and seeing beauty everywhere. And I remained there all day long into the night. I went to hear my son play with a fill-in drummer with a band that he had never played with before. And on the way there, I'm sending love and appreciation to everything around me. I mean, to the trees, to the other drivers and cars, to the road, to everything. I mean, I'm just going down the road with just this attitude of gratitude and just love just pouring out of me. And that energy was still very much present with me as I went into the bar, where actually it was outside the bar because they actually played outside in like a pavilion. But in any case, this lady came walking in and sat at a table not far from where I was sitting by myself, and pointed to me and said, "What's your name?" And I told her, and she told me her name, and then she invited me to go sit at her table with her. But where I was sitting there, a post was blocking my view of the band, and especially my son playing in the band. And so I didn't like sitting there, so I went and I moved back over to where I had been sitting before. And then she ended up coming over there and sitting with me. And, you know, she was interesting, to say the least. But she reached a point in the conversation, and she was sort of pushing herself toward me more and more as the evening wore on. And she reached a point where she started talking about, "I'm a person of integrity. I tell the truth." And it's ironic that when she said that, the things that she was saying weren't resonating. I mean, the gut feeling was, whoo, you know, she's telling me she's telling the truth. She's announcing she's telling the truth and she has integrity. But my gut sure as hell wasn't picking that up. And anyway, to make a long story short there, she tried to get me to take her home. And I declined. And she said, "Why? I don't live far from here. It's not far out of it." She asked me which way I was going, and I told her, and she was in the opposite direction. But she said, "It's not far. You know, it'll only take a little bit of time." But I felt, I did not feel good in my gut about it. And actually, one of the other ladies came when this lady went to the bathroom. One of the other ladies who had also talked with her some that evening came and gave me some information that I didn't get from the first lady, and sort of gave me a little bit of a warning, which I'm not going to go into the detail. But I was also given a warning from the environment, from somebody else that had a little piece of information that hadn't been provided to me by this lady. So that just verified my gut feeling. In any case, truth is something to me that is not that hard to discern, although I have recognized, as I shared in yesterday's video and other videos I probably hinted at it as well, I realize that sometimes when I don't have all the facts, I fill in blanks. And what I fill those blanks in with is based on lots of things. And it's not always the truth. But sometimes I have beliefs, and I believe certain things to be true, that with further unfolding of detail and of data, I realize that it was an error. It was not truth at all. And these type of things are forgivable. But there is, and I will continue to do this, I mean, I will not buy into this school of thought and the New Thought, New Age religions that teach that there is no good or evil, that there is no right or wrong, that everything is subjective, and what's good at one point is bad at another point, perhaps, and anyway, there's all sorts of rationalizations and justifications of the idea that there is no right or wrong. The only thing we need to do to determine right or wrong, and I've used this illustration in many other times, in many other videos probably. Just say, for example, I come up to you and I steal from you. I assault you, I steal from you. Now, is that right or is that wrong? From your perspective, I just hit you over the head and I took your purse or your wallet. I knocked you unconscious for a while and I took that and I ran off with it and I stole your identity and I went into your house and I desecrated your house and took your automobile and I just stole. Now, is that right or wrong? You say, well, it depends on how you look at it. Does it really? It doesn't depend on anything. Every sentient being inherently knows that what I just did to you is wrong. Now, of course, I didn't really do that. I'm just using that as an illustration. But we inherently, from a subjective point of view, know right and wrong, which is absolutely essential in living in a culture, in a society of many individuals. You need to be able to determine right and wrong, good and evil, truth and lies. We live in a country, in a world for that matter, that is horrendous. I'm going to give the rest of the JFK quote. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned. No rumor is printed. No secret is revealed. This is the world that we live in. Eisenhower, his predecessor, warned us. This was the speech that Kennedy, by the way, gave early on in 1961 in the early part of his administration, the first year of his administration, over 2 years before he was killed. But he continued to oppose this conspiracy. He continued to oppose this elite banking establishment, which is what it really is. It's an international banking conglomerate that wants to rule the world. And that's the Bilderbergers and all of these cabal agencies that the 555 and the Dragon family is now standing up to and saying no more. I mean, this is not serving humanity. It's not serving the highest good. It's wrong. It's evil. And this we've got to stop. This is what we've got to do. We've got to curtail this and stop this in its tracks, because it cannot go on. It will destroy the planet. It will destroy all life on the planet if allowed to continue. But I started to say JFK's predecessor, Eisenhower, on his exiting in his last year of holding office as president, right toward the end of his very term, he warned us about the military-industrial complex. Again, a conspiracy. People that don't believe in conspiracies and don't believe in right and wrong, and I get criticized in the New Age and the New Thought community all the time because I'm negative, because I point these things out. Folks, wake up. I'm not imagining this. And you that want to live with your head in the sand, you need to pay attention. We are responsible for the world that we create. And the more of us that get together and see the problem and create solutions addressing those problems, we have a chance then to co-create a world that does work, in fact, for everybody. But we have to get out of this idea that we can't know the truth. That truth is only relative. No, there are some things that are absolute fact, truth. Truth is that there is a conspiracy going on in this world, that the corporations are that corporations in and of themselves are a structure that absolves the owners of the corporation of responsibility and accountability, which is in itself, that in itself is evil. That in itself is a lie. The whole idea of a corporation is a legal fiction. That's the definition, for God's sake. That's the definition. It's not my imagination. It's not my opinion. It's fact. It's the truth. And there are people that don't like that that's the truth. But that's the truth we have to look at. That's the truth that the ambassador and I in our discussions are looking at. We're looking at these things. The Red Dragon, the Dragon family is looking at these things. We need to address this issue of the conspiracy against life and against human values. And the basic human value of all human values is to tell the truth. That's why I challenged people in a video a couple of days ago that the way out, the way of 555, is to tell the truth, and the other way is to embrace our life force energy and not allow the lie that something is wrong with our sexuality, something is wrong with our life force energy, something is wrong with the feminine aspect of creation, that the war against femininity, the war against the divine, the goddess, the war against sexuality, this is all part of the conspiracy against life itself and against basic human rights and against truth. Now, Perkins writes, and this is from the link that I provided, and it's again a link from Democracy Now! On the interview that Amy Goodman, I assume it was Amy Goodman, did with John Perkins. Anyway, Perkins writes, and now I'm reading, the book was to be dedicated to the presidents of two countries, men who had been his clients, whom I respected and thought of as kindred spirits. Jaime Roldos, president of Ecuador, and Omar Torrijos, president of Panama. Both had just died in fiery crashes. Their deaths were not accidental. They were assassinated because they opposed that fraternity of corporate, government, and banking heads whose goal is global empire. We, economic hitmen, failed to bring Roldos and Torrijos around, and the other type of hitmen, the CIA-sanctioned jackals who were always right behind us, stepped in. Yeah, they stepped in and they assassinated leaders of countries. This is the kind of evil that is present in our world that we, the people, need to not only expose, but to stand up to with truth and with love in our hearts, the willingness to forgive when they admit the truth. And they need to admit, this is what we've done. This was our plan. This was our justification. They need to come clean. And I'm calling again for everybody, regardless of what strata where you fit in the strata of society, wherever you feel you are, whatever role you've played, everybody needs to come clean if we're going to create a world that works for everybody. We can't have this doctrine that there is no right and wrong, that there is no such thing as truth. that we can't know the truth. We can't have that mindset. If we have that mindset, we're going to keep justifying criminality. And there's nothing short. It is a criminal mindset. It is a psychopathic, sociopathic mindset that anything goes, that anything can be justified because you can create some kind of rationalization for your actions. No, actions that harm others are wrong actions. They are evil actions. Actions that cause someone to lose even their own security when they haven't done anything to hurt anyone else. These are evil actions, and our governments are involved in an evil enterprise. Our corporations, not all of them, are involved in an evil enterprise. The mindset, the goal is to create a global empire, an empire of domination, an empire of control of the people and all of the resources by a handful of people called an oligarchy, a handful of people at corporate heads that run everybody else and make all the rules to exonerate themselves from any liability and accountability and punish everybody that tries to expose that or stand up to it and stand in truth and stand in compassion and stand in love. They oppose that. And we need to understand that this is the dynamic that we are dealing with right now on this planet in every one of our lives, whether we want to admit it or not. This is the dynamic that's at play. It's one of the most important dynamics to understand and to realize. Yes, we need to do the healing work inside, but we need to be aware of the world that we live in, because there is a worldwide conspiracy against truth, a worldwide conspiracy against basic human rights, a worldwide conspiracy against love and compassion, a worldwide conspiracy against spirituality that embraces all things and encompasses everyone. Not an exclusive us and them, because the us and them mentality is the one that the conspiracy promotes. It's not us against them. They are us. And we need to recognize that inside, but we also need to hold ourselves accountable for seeing things as they really are and not making excuses for those that have an evil agenda. And it is an evil agenda. Anyway, these are the things that came up to me in my meditation this morning. Unlike yesterday when gratitude was the name of the game, today truth and revelation of the reality of life has been what has been on my mind and in the forefront of my thinking. And how that will shape the day ahead of me, I have no idea. But I thank you for listening, and I hope I've given you something to think about if you're still on the side that you think that we can't know the truth. Thank you. Namaste and in Lakesh.